Hi, this is Justin.
Hi, Justin. It's Melissa Manchester.
Hey, Melissa, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good, thanks.
Good.
Well, thanks for doing this interview. So the occasion of this interview arose from the new collection playlist, which gathers 14 recordings from various stages of your wide-ranging career in music, showcasing your diversity both as a vocalist and a songwriter.
Mm-hmm.
So to get a sense of where you drew your initial musical inspiration from, in the liner notes you mentioned that at age 5, the voices of Ella and Judy, which I presume would be Fitzgerald and Garland, if I'm correct, that you said they lit your heart's dark corners. So can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Well, I didn't know that my heart had any dark corners at age 5. I just knew that when I heard their voices, something resonated so deeply and would move me to my core whenever I would hear them, that everything else like school and studies and homework was a great nuisance.
Mm-hmm.
And all I wanted to do was just get back to that place because I knew that that was my guiding force.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was not a very good student, but I guess I was good enough. And I started to write poetry at 15 and became a staff writer at Chapel when I was 17, and studied songwriting with Paul Simon. And so so circuitously, what I have found was that the power of a voice and the power of a song can really change a nation or change a life. I know that to be true.
Mm-hmm. And what did you mentioned in the liner notes as well that Paul Simon taught you what was most important as a songwriter. What was the highlight of that for you?
Well, the central idea is that all of the stories have been told, so that it is the way you tell your story that puts your soul print on it. You know, whether it's it's the shape of your language, it's the uniqueness of your thoughts. And within the context of the time, I was a young singer-songwriter during that first wave of singer-songwriters,
right?
Who were sort of changing the shape of popular lyric writing. Paul Simon, Laura Nyro, Joni Mitchell, the Beatles, Sly Stone, Stevie Wonder, and the Beatles were writing Obla Di Obla Da, and Laura Nyro was writing Can You Surrey, Can You Picnic? And so we were really challenged as young students to find language, to really think about our subject matter and really see if we could infuse it with interesting metaphors, you know, and so it was, but that was the central idea, is that all the stories have been told, and it's the way you tell your story that's unique.
So I was curious, when you debuted with Home to Myself in the early 70s, what was it like being a debut artist, recording your own songs, particularly as a female in the business at that point?
Well, needless to say, the landscape of the recording industry was gigantically different than it is today.
Yeah.
When I was first signed to Bell Records was a singles label, but they signed me as an album artist. So they left me alone to make my album, and I thought that's the way all record companies treat their artists.
Wow.
And it was great. I mean, I worked with Hank Medris and Dave Apple, and we worked hard. We had a great time, and it was all live musicians, nothing electronic about it. And then I went on the road for a really long time, and while I was on the road, I started writing for the next album, and then the third album, Bell Records, was absorbed into Arista Records, and Clive Davis was the president of that, and it was a different approach to record making. But,
yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of Carol, jumping ahead a little bit, Don't Cry Out Loud, I believe, is one of your first singles, at least big ones, where you were interpreting another's song, one that you weren't involved in specifically writing. Was that different for you or new for you, or was it any different in how you approached it?
It was kind of interesting because Carol and I wrote all the time, and Carol and Peter Allen wrote all the time, but Peter and I never wrote.
Okay.
And it was like a revolving door at Carol's apartment. So there was sort of there was suggestion of similarity in something about the songs. And when I heard Don't Cry Out Loud originally, it was a very quiet version, and I thought that it was exquisite in that version.
Was that the Moments version?
No, it was actually a recording that I'd heard of Peter doing it.
Oh, okay.
And when I went into the studio and it was this gigantic, bombastic, anthemic kind of song, it really took me by surprise. But I was very touched at how it resonated for people. Yeah,
because when I heard theirs, when it was called We Don't Cry Out Loud, I guess at first I was like, wow, it's almost like a different song, so quiet, yeah. And onto other collaborations, something else featured on this playlist is Lovers After All, which you wrote with the venerable Leon Ware, and on which you duetted with Peebo Bryson. What was memorable to you about those collaborations, both Leon as a writer and Peebo as a vocalist?
Well, Leon had such a fabulous sense of harmonics and had worked with the remarkable Marvin Gaye. So it was it just opened the atmospheric possibilities of harmonics, and that would I did a lot more lyric writing than composition writing with Leon, and of course to sing with Peebo was really fantastic. Although we were not in the room together when we sang.
Oh, really?
He recorded in Atlanta, and I recorded it in L.A.
And of course, this collection also includes You Should Hear How She Talks About You. From what I can tell from listening to your different albums over the years, that was a markedly different sound for you. So I was just curious, how involved were you in that decision, and what was your reaction when it took off like it did?
Well, it was one of those decisions that you make along the journey of your life to try something and see how it works, because the marketplace was changing, specifically because electronics was being introduced to all of the producers. So it was shifting what was possible in a studio. And what was wonderful is that the song was written by two colleagues of mine, Tom Snow and Dean Pitchford, and it's a solid song. It's just that it was not the norm for me because I'm basically a troubadour. But I cut my hair off. I lost lots of weight. I glammed up and ran it up the flagpole, and it worked. And it worked all the way to a Grammy, which was really kind of surprising. But
I remember seeing your performance on there.
And it was a lot of fun. I stopped singing it for a while because I needed a little perspective on it, but now I sing it again, and it's kind of fun.
Rainbird being from the movie Dirty Girls, what can you tell me about the genesis of that song and how your work came to be an integral part of that movie?
Well, Dirty Girl was written by and directed by Abe Sylvia. It's on DVD now. It's a coming-of-age story that takes place in Oklahoma in 1937.
Okay.
It's about two teenagers, a boy and a girl, who become friends, much to their chagrin, in a special ed class because they're kind of incorrigible.
Yeah.
And they're both on a journey, as are their mothers, played by Mila Jovovich and Mary Steenburgen.
Okay.
And the young boy is my music is his connection to the world.
Oh, okay.
And Abe Sylvia, the film actually pays homage to my music, which is very touching.
Yeah.
There are about 9 of my songs in the film, and when he needed an original song, Mary Steenburgen and I had just collaborated on a song just about a week before we had gotten the script, and we asked Abe Sylvia if we might try writing an original song for the film, and he let us, and we did, and I think it's a lovely song. And
it's a different side of you. It's a very softer side.
Yes, it is. And the song "I Know Who I Am" was recorded by Leona Lewis for Tyler Perry's "For Colored Girls."